Over 3,500 cases of deed theft, not in the West Bank, in Brooklyn. People are tricked into losing equity and ownership of their own houses. This shit is happening in broad daylight.
These guys are trying to scam my boy out his property. Look.
We can do inspection of the house.
Ain't no inspection. You don't own the house.
This is a court order.
Like, get court order.
Must vacate.
No.
Deed theft to the New York Attorney General's office has more than tripled over the last few years. It's essentially when someone steals your house, often by forging the deed.
Meng Yu bought this house and has the paperwork to prove it. Yet he's locked out and fighting in court for access while the district attorney investigates. Says a woman who'd been living in the house refused to leave. That same woman somehow took over the deed.
I was shocked. How could this be possible? Because only their owner are supposed to sell the house.
Rachel Cyprian was shaking mad as she spoke with us outside the governor's office about the devastating impact of her 15-year fight to reclaim ownership of her Brooklyn home following deed theft.
It leads to homelessness. It leads to depression. It leads to all sorts of failures.
Frequently, the targets are seniors and communities of color.
What do we want? And when do we want it? Now!
Sentencing in a
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, highest honors to Yahweh, which is the name of the Heavenly Father in Paleo-Ancient Hebrew, and to Yahweh Shai, the one you ignorantly call Jesus Christ, his name in Paleo-Ancient Hebrew. Double honors to the Apostle Elders, a great millstone that rule well. Salutations to you few brothers that preach, teach, and prophesy his word, truth, and sincerity to put our lives on the line in these last days to bring you this raw and this uncut truth. The brother Ariaga from the Grand Rapids, Michigan camp here with another nifty lesson. Let's get into it. All right. Once again, the small hats are doing what they do best. They taking the land of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans and claiming it for their own. We see that right now with Israel. You pay attention to what's going on. That land does not belong to the individuals that are conflicting over it. And yet, we sit here and our inheritance is basically being trodden under by these other nations because we failed to do the things that the Heavenly Father had ordained us to do as a people. And now we're in this captivity. And even in this captivity, we will be subject to these things because we are under these curses. Being under these curses, we are easily taken advantage of because the Heavenly Father has allowed these things to happen once again because we have fallen away from him. And by doing so, we're in a constant state of being victims, targets, prey, if you will, because this is not our kingdom and our time to thrive is coming soon. Yet as of right now, we are still being unfairly targeted and taken down by the individuals that you see in this video, continuously targeted and taken advantage of because they know spiritually and the elites know mentally who we are and the amount of oppression to apply to us. It's jacked up. Yet Klaus Schwab said it himself in the future. You will own nothing, and you will have nothing. You will own nothing, and you'll be happy, folks. We are in those days already, and it's only becoming more painstakingly true. A lot of things that are happening, so let's just get straight into it and back it up with scriptures. All right.
A courtroom confrontation today after the long-awaited sentencing in a major deed theft case was unexpectedly postponed. News 12 Shakti Dennis was there.
Tensions ran high inside the Brooklyn courthouse today. On one side, victims of deed theft. The other, supporters of Sanford Solnit, the disbarred lawyer who was convicted back in June for stealing 11 Brooklyn properties through a fraudulent real estate scheme targeting mostly minority homeowners in financial distress. His sentencing was supposed to happen today, but last night some victims learned that it had been postponed. Lawyers say Solnit hadn't met with probation because of the Jewish holidays. Still, some victims came to court anyway, only to find dozens of Solnit supporters there too.
He taught me
Now, I will say this. How in the hell, oh, because of the Jewish holiday, this motherfucker's locked up. All of a sudden, they just have, you know, all this seniority to this individual's holidays. Them niggas don't give a damn when you gotta take your ass to jail and you gotta get sentenced on Christmas and New Year's and let you tell them I'm an Israelite and I have no, they don't care. They don't give a damn. Talking about they doing postpone because of Jewish holidays. That shit don't mean shit when you locked up. Okay? Oh, we gotta respect it. Like, yeah, but if you try to claim those same days, they will not recognize it. Okay? They're trying to do is, you know, basically come up with more time to set up a defense against, you know, these messed up acts that they've committed. They just want to buy time. And that's why Jake is outraged, you know.
I don't got that. I did not come today. Why can't I show up today as a victim? Why didn't you call all of them and tell them not to show up?
Inside the courtroom, the judge set a new sentencing date and allowed one victim who traveled from out of state to read an impact statement.
He took away my property. He took away my choice. Mr. Sony harmed me and left me with a short end of the stick.
Sony's defense attorney says he respects the court's decision, but claims the victims are not telling the full story.
This court found him guilty of making a false representation. Punishment will ensue for that. But this persistent notion that all of these individuals were hapless, unknowing, unintelligent individuals is just wrong.
Victims and advocates say they're frustrated by how long the case has dragged on. Some are still fighting to keep their property.
It destroyed our lives. They took more than 13 years away from us.
The new sentencing date is now set to November 12th, and on that day, more victims are expected to address Sony directly and tell him how this whole situation has impacted them. In downtown Brooklyn, Shakti Dennis, News 12 Brooklyn.
Yeah, man. That's the stuff we're talking about. You know, having that privilege. Okay, the same privilege is just wearing that small hat on his motherfucking head is allowing him to have. Look at him smiling, and now he gets to hold it back all the way to no. It's all a bunch of BS, man. And yet, this is what we are subject to under these curses. Nobody else is dealing with that type of stuff. And they know exactly who to come after. Okay? Now, here's also an example, an excerpt of the update to that situation on Democracy Now! Check this out.
Here in New York City, City Council member Chi Ose was released from NYPD custody on Wednesday after his violent arrest at a protest in support of a homeowner facing eviction. Ose said after his release, he'd sought hospital treatment after officers slammed him to the ground and pressed his face to the concrete. 3 others were arrested, including 2 who were also hospitalized. They'd gathered outside a residence in Brooklyn's Bed-Stuy neighborhood where city marshals were executing an eviction. Ose said the property owners were victims of deed theft, a process where investors take ownership of homes through fraud in rapidly gentrifying neighborhoods where property values are skyrocketing. New York Attorney General Letitia James said she's deeply disturbed by video of Ose's arrest. Meanwhile, Mayor Zoran Mamdani called the footage concerning and said he was investigating. And a correction to one of our headlines, Senator Chuck.
You know, so you see that right there. Jake is getting riled up, slammed to the ground, all because they're protesting against misdeeds that are taking place against our people. Once again, history repeating itself. Every time we get done wrong and our people say something about it, bam, we get slammed on the ground, we get jacked up, balled up, you know. But once again, we are underneath these curses. And these curses are almost up. Yet, we are still in the midst of them. So, going about protesting and doing these things, this is all going to boil over in its time. as things get harsher. But you see what happens when we do it. We protest and don't shit happen, don't shit move, because it's not time yet. Let's keep going.
Deed theft, where homeowners are essentially tricked out of their properties, has been a pervasive problem for a few years now. And now this group is rallying outside the governor's office, demanding that she do something about it.
My father and I worked really hard. We scraped and we saved and we purchased our home legally and legitimately.
Rachel Cyprian was shaking mad as she spoke with us outside the governor's office about the devastating impact of her 15-year fight to reclaim ownership of her Brooklyn home following deed theft.
It leads to homelessness. It leads to depression. It leads to all sorts of failures. Here we are, Black people, in this country now for over 400 years, and we're constantly starting from square one.
Deed theft is when a property's title is transferred away from the rightful owner, generally due to deceptive or predatory tactics. Frequently, the targets are seniors and communities of color.
What do we want? When do we want it? Now!
Now, Brooklyn City Councilman Chi Osei is pressing the governor to put a moratorium on evictions where there's a deed theft case pending or being investigated.
We are pleading to the governor, to the head of the state, to do right by all of us, to do right by Black New Yorkers, and to do your job.
During the moratorium, Chi Osei and other elected leaders are demanding legislative fixes, like more support for homeowners in eviction court, special investigative units inside district attorneys' offices, a public database of shell companies associated with deed theft, and more. In response, a spokeswoman for the governor's office did not mention an immediate moratorium, but said the governor has taken a number of steps to push back against deed theft. Quote, "No New Yorker should be cheated out of the opportunity to keep their home," which is why Governor Hochul has proposed $40 million in her state budget for the Homeowner Protection Program, and why she has led the way in enacting strong protections to empower homeowners and crack down on illegal deed theft. But advocates say they will press on for more reform and that immediate moratorium.
Moratorium now! Moratorium now! Governor Hochul, it is now at your door. Right. What are you going to do to keep Black families in their home? That's it. That's all I want to hear about.
Between 2014 and 2023, there have been roughly 3,500 complaints of deed theft in New York City alone. So we will continue following these proposals and continue to follow up with the governor's office and councilman's office as this moves forward. In Midtown, Henry Rossoff, Pix 11 News.
Yep, and so they went to this, they just peacefully out here speaking. This is the brother that just got out of jail, right? After getting jacked up by the police. So he went from this just informing and peacefully speaking and talking to Governor Hochul, which, as the scripture said, they should seek to please the poor. We're going to investigate it. We're going to do this and dedicate 40. Hey, all right, it all sounds good. But what happens in the meantime? Jake is getting accosted, jacked up, slammed to the ground for stating facts peacefully. These curses, dog. Curses. This is Deuteronomy 28:20. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, and all that thou settest thine hand onto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. We did this in our own land, and the Most High turned his back on us, and Yahweh Shai was the only way that we was able to get in good graces with the Heavenly Father again, through the sacrifice of Yahweh Shai. That he died for the sins of our people, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Natives, right? Let's jump down to 33. These are all just the curses in Deuteronomy 28. Basically we will go through if we fell away from the Heavenly Father, which we're in the midst of right now. Deuteronomy 28:33, it says, the fruit of the land and thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always. And thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. And that's what you see right now. This is what we're going through right now. We've been going through these things, but this is just another example of that situation where, Jake is constantly getting done wrong because, you know, these curses are real. I mean, they real as it gets. And all we can do is speak out on it, protest, and then you see what happens when Jake does that. They get slammed to the ground, they get busted up, and pretty soon they're going to get, you know, very violent with that. I'm talking about Esau. These protests is going to stop putting up with. And they're going to definitely start using lethal force. And we're coming into those times very soon, especially when they start enforcing this mark of the beast, you know. It says, this is Habakkuk 2:9. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Not only are they on a high status, okay, right now, you know, these Edomites, starting with the elites, they're in a high position. Hell, they've been up there in space with the space stations. And a perfect, you know, connection to that, you know, is looking at the movie Elysium, seeing the breakthroughs and the things that they're doing in space to make life better for them, because, you know, they think that they're going to be able to get out of this whole situation they have set up with the New World Order and being able to escape and survive in space when Yahushua returns. You know, they have literal plans. This is why the Star Force plan was set up. Okay. What did they have? What is it called? It was Star Force or something like that. That space program. You know, the new branch, a space branch, you know, Space Defense Force and stuff that Trump set up in his last term. But regardless of it, you know, he coveted an evil covenant is to his house. And they always coveted everything that we have and what we do. They want it as soon as we get it, you know. It says, thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people and have sinned against thy soul. And that's what they're doing, you know. They sinned against their own soul because why? They're putting their hands to the apple of the Lord's eye. Like these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Natives might not feel like it, I understand it, but we are the apple of the Most High's eye. And they putting their hands on it. And ain't nobody else the apple of his eye but us. So they sinning against their own soul. It says, for the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood and establish a city by iniquity. And the only way, we built these cities, but we were forced to. And it was by the blood, sweat, and tears of our people that they built them. And now they turn around, and the little bit we have, they snatch those crumbs out of your hand as well. All of it is strategic. Every bit of it, you know. And what they're doing now is they're moving to the final phases, because these colonizers, you see what they're doing over there to the people in Gaza. You see what they're doing to the people in Lebanon now. Okay, this is what they do. It's just in their DNA. They're trying to take, by any means necessary, any underhanded methods, you know. Zechariah 5:9-6, and a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. And what is Ashdod? Let's look at that real quick. All right, go to the interlinear, because people will be like, well, what's a bastard? A bastard slippers say Israelite, or also known as a terror, Israelite mother, and let's say a Jewish or Edomite father. That seed is a bastard seed. Okay, it's not a father. or a fatherless child, you know, that bullshit that people believe over here. And Ashdod. Oops. Let's see, my bad. And Armenia. Bear with me for just a second.
Strong's H795. Ashdod. Ashdod.
A major Philistine city on the Mediterranean Sea, west from Jerusalem, modern East dude. And they dwell there. And what are they doing? They're pushing North Jerusalem. They're taking all of those lands. Okay? From Rabinger, Ashdod, a place in Palestine, Ashdod. Okay? So they're pushing forward. So a bastard dwells in our land and our inheritance, you know? And you see them pressing a line over here as well. And they're allowing them to. That's the thing. And they're allowing them to because of that small ass hat on their head and who it represents. So you have a lot of individuals that are in their feelings on our side, which is we're doing wrong or getting done wrong. Esau's playing the shit out of us, you know, but is only going to be allowed further because of the kingdom that we're in. This is why this stuff has to move forward, because no amount of protesting and changing the laws is going to give us a fair shake. Okay? None of it. None of it. Let's see. Bro, Amalek, who are they? First of all, who are these people? All right, they call them Khazarians and what have you. But they, biblically, they're known as Ashdod. Excuse me, as Amalek. Okay. And like I said, this has been an age-old war that's been waged between us since we came out of, really it started with, you know, Cain and Abel. But it came all the way down to us leaving Egypt in the ancient world. And they were just coming out against us, trying to kill us and shit, do all the things that they doing now, you know. Numbers 24 and 20. And when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. And they were one of the, you know, heathen nations that were created before Israel was even created, before Adam. It was already established. And they always had an issue with us because we are the Lord's favorite, but they were the first. You know, first of the nations. Remember what Deuteronomy 25 and 17. Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way when you were come forth out of Egypt. That's when we were coming out of Egypt, right? How he met thee by the way, and smote the hindermost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou wast faint and weary, and he feared not the Most High. So even when we were, you know, exhausted and at some of our weakest, and we were coming out of Egypt, they took advantage of that. They came up against us and they attacked us when we were just trying to go through their land and offered to pay them. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do, is they kick you when you're down. It says, therefore it shall be when Yahweh thy God hath given thee rest from all thine enemies round about in the land which Yahweh hath given thee for an inheritance to possess. Yeah, because the time is coming for us to receive that reward, starting with the elect. All right, because of the inheritance that he promised us to possess it. It says that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heavens, that thou shalt not forget it. But Yahweh shall have not forgot what Amalek was created to do and what they've done and what they're trying to do. It says, the fruit of the land and all the labors and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always. I had to read that again because this is what we're going through. And guess what? 2/3 of our people, the majority of our people are worthy of it anyway. You know, with our time, captivity is almost up. Okay? So being circumspect and paying attention to these things, we just understand that protesting is not going to get it done. But going in direct service under Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, seeking Him first, is the only way out of this, man. Seek ye the kingdom of heaven first, and all these things shall be added unto you. You understand that we're going to be pushed over, we're going to be played when it comes to things like this. Okay? But we dealing with the same old devil. John 10:10. The thief cometh not, but to steal and to kill and destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they, which is you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and natives, Israelites, might have it more abundantly. All right? But the thief, they always came to steal, kill, and destroy. And this is how you recognize who 2 Thessalonians 2:3, let no man deceive you by any means, for the day shall not come, except there be a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Esau, Edom, small hats especially, they embody that. They are the heads of Esau, Edom, small hats are. That's why they're able to get away with all this shit and move in the shadows like they do. Okay? But they are the son of perdition, the son of destruction is being fulfilled. Okay? Who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God, and that is worship, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. That goes all the way back to Antiochus Epiphanes and what he did, and they've basically been riding that wave, you know, since those days, since the Heavenly Father put them in a position to do so. All right. So with that, you know, this is what's happening, these curses. And all the protesting in the world is not going to set us free. We're waiting on the Lord, we're waiting on Yahweh Shai. All right. So with that, be circumspect. Pay attention to what's going on around you. It's almost over. All right. Get yourself together. Get your household in order. Till the next time, I bid you shalom.